All right, it is Wednesday, halfway there through the week. It is 4:30 p.m. It means it's office hours here at the Academy. Are you ready, Andrew?
Always.
Always. Born ready. Yeah, that's good. All right, let the trailer begin. All right, then. An early spring here outside Chicago. It's been pretty okay today, I'll say.
I have to say, I hope for the next at least 8 weeks that we're starting this by talking about how nice the weather is outside. I'm going to keep taking the nice weather. Got some fresh air today, feeling good. Like you said, we're halfway through the week. I'm starting the stream with optimism and positivity today.
That is awesome. I know you had a few things on your mind, so shall I simply go ahead and then share your screen?
That sounds great.
All right, then. I'm doing it.
So, first thing that I have on my mind is in just a little over 2 weeks at the Twin Cities Systems Management User Group, yours truly here will be speaking solo for the first time for this user group's Intune Day on March 21st. So if you are in the Minneapolis area, I definitely encourage you to sign up because I am certainly not the only person speaking at this event. We have several other great speakers that have been asked to join and talk about some topics surrounding Intune. I'm super excited for this. I think I'll be a little lost without my partner in crime here, but I know that you'll be with me in spirit, and I'm very excited to talk about this topic. I'm going to be talking a little bit about how to get started with Autopilot.
No, I know you'll be all right. It's
All
not
right.
your first show, so.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I'm very excited, and I appreciate the vote of confidence for sure. Well, I've got to say, I'm actually honored to be asked. I think just being asked to join is quite the vote of confidence. So I'm very excited about that. I'm not the only one speaking in a user group, though, within the next couple of weeks. I know next week is the MVP Summit going on in Seattle, and
Yep.
you and many other MVPs will be out that way, and you will be speaking at the Northwest Systems Center user group.
Yep, indeed. Friday that week. So that will be March 15, if I did the math right on numbers or days or dates.
That's what it says.
Yeah, Mike Terrell is going to be there as well. And Andreas, I think, is going to show up too. Mr. Hammarskjöld is over in Seattle visiting our, co-workers over there, colleagues.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, it's been a good week.
I would say so. All right, looking forward to that. So we're gonna be out and about the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
We're out of the cold weather and we're moving around the country again.
That is true.
All right. So other updates over the past week or so. I wanted to call out this tweet that I saw from James Robinson. Mentioning that the enable and disable Copilot setting has now been added to the Intune settings catalog. If you are disabling Copilot, would encourage you to go this route as we start to pour more and more into the settings catalog. But this was fantastic. Some minor news, but as we talk about here on Office Hours, we're always happy to see these new additions to settings catalog. It's so much easier to just click a checkbox to add something to a policy than actually have to type out a long string and hope you didn't mistype anything, wouldn't you say?
Yep. A long way.
So I also had something else that I wanted to show. A couple of weeks ago, might have been a little further back than that now, we had a question around how to get which policies and applications were assigned to an Entra group. And came across Timmy Anderson's script here on how to do that. Fantastic script. Seemed like the feedback that I saw seemed like it helped out quite a few people. So fantastic stuff there. I happen to also notice, though, just yesterday maybe, that Ugur Cook released a script. I believe it was in beta. Yes, right there. Download the beta on GitHub, called Intune Assignment Checker. And with this script, it looks like you are able to specify a user, a group, or a device and see what is assigned to it. So I spent a few minutes earlier just setting up this script myself and running it. So I thought today would be a good day, as good a day as any for a short demo. So we've got the website here leads over to a link on GitHub for this script. You can go ahead and download it from here. I'm expecting, if it's beta and based on some of the other things that he's released, we'll probably see some updates here in the future. But so far, it's working pretty darn nicely from what I've seen. So I've downloaded the script. I have it over here. This is the downloaded version. So this script is not configured. Make sure you read the top, because you do have to have an app registration configured, and there are a number of permissions that also need to be configured. So user.read.all, group, device management configuration, device management, managed devices, and device.read.all. Another one I came across, because the script was looking for applications, was device management, managed apps, I believe. If you don't add that permission as well, I was getting an unauthorized error. So it was looking for that specific permission. I added that as well. Once you have that app registration configured, you go ahead and plug in your app ID, your tenant ID, and the secret for that app, and then you can run the script. So if I open up terminal here, and let's just browse to my scripts directory, I have Intune Assignment Checker configured. And this one has my app identification information and the secret and everything configured already. So I'm just going to go run this script. And you can see here, it's asking what type of entity I would like to check the assignments for in Intune. So I wanted to start with a user here first. So I am going to provide a username, Mace Windu, in my lab. As we have discussed many times, and as you can see by my background here, we're big Star Wars fans. So Mr. Mace Windu here, we put in his name. It's going to give us some information. We're going to get the user ID. It's going to show us the groups that the user is a member of. So I have a number of licensing groups. Looks like I have some application groups, and just some other test groups. I use this user for quite a few demos, so he ends up in a number of groups. And so what's happening now in the background as we wait here for a moment is that the script is going to check to see which configuration profiles, which applications, and anything else that are assigned to the user specifically, or one of the groups that the user is a member of, rather. Because if you are using Intune today, you probably have noticed that pretty much everything that you configure has to be assigned to a group that has users or devices in it. So what that has returned for us now, no configuration profiles, no compliance policies, no required applications for the user, but the user does have Microsoft 365 apps for Enterprise available, as well as Notepad++ 8.5.8. So that's pretty awesome, I think, being able to see what is assigned to the user. Now, what if we wanted to check a specific device? I've got a device name that I can try out here. And this is going to have a similar experience. We're going to get the device ID. We're going to get the group memberships. And then it's going to start to fetch all that information. While we wait for that, I see Siva and Amir have joined us today, and we got a hello from them. Good to see you both. Thanks for joining us. So we can see on the device side of things, some of the group memberships look a little bit different than the user side of things. I have some other groups that have driver updates assigned to them, or Windows updates, delivery optimization, configuration profiles. So we should see a few more things coming out from the output of this script when we're looking at a device. It's going to have a lot different policies assigned to it. And it's going to take a little bit longer simply because it's a member of more groups. There we go. We have a number of configuration profiles that are assigned to it. We can see that we have some update rings assigned to it, some configuration profiles. This, I think, is both a good and bad example of why naming conventions, even for your configuration profiles, make sense. For example, had I not put update ring in the name here of this, what's coming through as a configuration profile, I may not have known that it was an update ring and thought it was just some generic configuration profile. But we also have required applications that I've assigned through some testing, as well as some available applications that are made available to this device. So far, from what I've seen, this is another fantastic script. I'm going to add this to my toolbox alongside Timmy's script. Really great stuff here. I'm interested to see how this can improve. It looks like from a device perspective, we can put multiple device names in here. So I'm going to see if I can play around with this a little bit and see if we can come up with any feedback or anything. But fantastic stuff from what I've seen so far. I also wanted to mention, if I've still got another minute, Johan.
Yes, sir.
All right. I need to pull up a tweet that you posted yesterday.
Not ConfigMgr related, is it?
It might be ConfigMgr related.
Yeah, Lord, what a week!
I know. I really was surprised at the number of responses you had to this. So, in one of my environments, we happen to see a rapid change in the size of our ConfigMgr database. As Johan mentioned here in this tweet, the database grew very rapidly, over 100 gigabytes.
Per hour.
Yes, until disk space just ran out. So I asked Johan about this yesterday, and he had not seen it, and fortunately posted this tweet yesterday. And quite frankly, I was expecting, just some weird random bug or something like that, but got quite a few replies that other people are seeing this as well. And what it seems like there are a number of Defender events that are just flooding the database, and these logs that are hitting this logs table in the site server database are containing just massive XML messages. I mean, to me, they look massive for just being inserted into a SQL database that normally the logs are very small. Anyways, so far I have not seen any consistency as to what's causing this yet. There's some speculation in the thread here. Again, I don't have the replies up here because I'm not signed in. It was really nice when we used to see replies to tweets without being signed in.
That was nice. Long story short, it seems like it's a known issue. Apparently, a few folks contacted Microsoft support and got a script that was able to deal with it. There was a hotfix released to ConfigMgr the day before yesterday, so that would be Monday. I had to think there for a second. So new roll-up coming out for ConfigMgr, but that one does not seem to have anything related to this in it. So my guess is there will be some sort of fix available, or they will fix it in the back end, whatever is causing this problem. But there was a good chunk of people reporting in that they're seeing this. One of them had a database grow to 800 gig, which is a lot if you only had like 50 from before. So anyhow, keep an eye on that one. If you
definitely.
Sign up.
Absolutely. And thank you to everybody that replied and hopped into that conversation.
Yep.
Community coming together is always great.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So that is all I had.
All right. I didn't have any updates other than related to this this thing here that we already talked about. But I did got asked twice now in like just a few days of a way to set screen resolution in WinPE. So I figured I could share a little bit about that. So I'm going to go ahead and steal my screen.
All right.
Let's see here. Entire screen share. I'm going to pull this one up and that one away. There we go. So long story short, to set the screen resolution in WinPE, back in the days, it was easy. And when I mean back in the days, I mean back in the days, you know, when WinPE was cool back in January of 2012, version 4 WinPE. But you've been able to always provide a nice and a 10 file, even since back in the early versions of WinPE, but just providing the right information in an under 10 file. But later they changed it to have to look a little bit different. This only works with BIOS-based machines pretty much, and not any modern hardware at all. So you can pretty much scrap this. If it works, it's pure incident or pure by accident. It will work in virtual machines, etc., but on physical devices, not so much. So our good friend David Segura has this OSD Cloud PowerShell module that we showcased many times, and recently it's been helped by Gary Block as well to improve on this one. But he had for the longest time, or a good few years, he has some functions that are related to this. So if you start to drill into what's included in this package here, you will find several functions that are related to setting screen resolutions in WinPE. And these functions are actually calling C# code in them. So PowerShell calling better code to deal with screen settings. Long story short, this project is quite ambitious. Just out of curiosity, I wanted to figure out, okay, how many lines of code did he actually put in there? It was close to 60,000. That's a lot of scripts.
Yeah.
And I thought Maurice's script was big of 20,000 lines. I was like, oh, dang. So this is a lot of code, obviously. But these functions are not very big. So I took these functions and well, they're not there, are they? But they are here. And just add them to a PowerShell script. So these are the 4 functions that came from David's solution. And I have a machine here, WinPE client, that is currently set to 8x600, as you can see, not the best resolution. And then I just .source the script, so I have access to the commandlet. And then I can go ahead and set whatever height and I want. So I can do a 1024 by, say, 768. And it will change it to that right away. Or I can do a maybe more modest full HD 1080, and it will change it to that one. I can go all the way up to 4K, but this screen here only does full HD, so there's absolutely no point. But this is a great little PowerShell or PowerShell module that contains a bunch of functions that allows you to set screen resolution in WinPE, because that is what OSD Cloud is using when you are using that platform. So I thought it was pretty cool. I wanted to share it. So obviously we'll put this link in the chat here, PowerShell module here up on the gallery. And
that's fantastic. Yeah. The wonderful Mike Terrell himself.
Right.
Oh, 1.4 million downloads.
Look at that.
That's amazing.
And they say imaging is dead. I don't think so.
Yeah, not so sure. I was just going to call out the wonderful Mike Terrell himself was saying that Gary and he were just talking about this.
There you go.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what do you say? Should we look through some of these questions?
Go for it.
All
You're in charge.
Well, for the next 30 seconds. So Matt is asking about a topic that seems to be gaining some traction on Twitter over the last couple of weeks. So Matt's saying your tweet about the Intune dev, I think this is referring to the Microsoft 365 development program that we talk about often on here. Is Microsoft trying to cancel and not renew it for us?
Yeah. It is incredibly sad that first of all, Microsoft removed the EMS E5 trial that has been available for the longest time. Mm-hmm. And now they seem to be very, very restrictive on who can sign up for the M365 developer program, which was a sure bet just a few months ago here. And even folks who have a developer program running have learned that it's been taken away from them. I'm not sure why, because these tenants have been in use, but apparently it was not, I don't know, development enough or something like that. But it's very sad to see. It's an ugly trend in the entire industry, it feels like right now. Broadcom started with removing the trial versions or free versions of VMware. So folks that want to learn about that technology no longer could do that easily. And Microsoft has always been fantastic to provide evaluation software, which they still do for on-premises solutions. But it hurts me to my core learning that the options of being able to also learn about our cloud offerings have been so limited lately. Right now, my only recommendation is, all right, fine, convince your manager to buy you a few licenses. It's really not that expensive. It's $20, $30 a month to get a few users up so you can play around with things. But I think I want them back. I want the trials back.
Yeah, I mean, for that's something that you and I talk about often, is having home lab and having resources available for you to learn and go out and sort of, I think what ends up happening is you really end up evangelizing some of these products as well. You get to know them, you grow your skills in them, and that seems to be a mutually beneficial relationship.
You would think, yeah. I mean, the community around Intune and ConfigMgr has always been one of the strongest communities I ever stumbled across in the IT industry. And there are a lot of customers out there that are using these solutions because of someone playing around with them first, or learning about them, and then recommend others to use them, or sharing info about them, writing blog posts and technical troubleshooting guides and whatever that might be. So, we'll see. I'm coming up to Redmond next week, and I'll give it a good fight to see if we can bring something of it back again.
We all appreciate you out there fighting for us, no doubt. I will. I'm going to get some of this wrong, but was it a few years back that they were going to change the benefits on the Action Pack or one of the partner programs, I think?
Oh, yeah.
And the backlash. Do you remember the backlash for that, Johan? It was.
Yeah, they announced at, it was one of the Inspire conferences. It was not Ignite, it was the Inspire one for all partners. And they basically announced that, yeah, we're going to get rid of this. And it didn't take long until they bounced back and said, so sorry. We'll keep it. How about that?
Yeah, not so inspirational, is it? So hopefully they listen to the feedback. It is where I want to go with that.
Yeah. It just feels down to the core that this was like some sort of being counter, like some realizing, okay, we're actually spending dollars on this one here, and we already removed the pens, so we need to remove this also to save some bucks. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know the details. It just feels not good. I don't like it.
Definitely. All right. Well, we've got a few other questions. We can. I think we've all determined that we're all not very excited about those those changes that are happening.
We are not one bit.
So we've got Matt asking, have you had a chance to read the Microsoft doc about changing the workload? Changing the workload to Intune, then changing the client setting to company portal, and getting all apps from ConfigMgr and Intune in the company portal. So I think this would be the applications workload in like co-management, and then there's that client setting that we have available in ConfigMgr to expose your Software Center applications to company portal. Have you worked with that too much at this point?
No, but I have confirmed that even in the co-managed state, apps that you deploy from both platforms will show up on the device. But I haven't read through that documentation recently because that was the questions. So I haven't done that.
Yeah, same. All right. Siva is asking, have you used Support Assist for business PCs from Dell? We're trying to consider this tool for driver management of our Dell PCs.
I mean, I know about the tool, but I have not used it. The challenge I'm usually having myself, and I know you are in the same situation, Andrew, is that we often work with customers that need to support multiple hardware vendors. It's not just one vendor anymore. So I try to use tools that are vendor agnostic. So I really like the modern driver management solution, which, by the way, got an update just this week here or last week, supporting 23H2 and some other bug fixes around bits downloads and whatnot. So I would recommend going that path rather than being tied into a specific vendor tool. But that's my 2 cents.
Agreed. All right. Amir is catching us up on the ongoing Microsoft 365 apps and new Teams installation saga. As Danny mentioned last time, the offline ODT package installs the new Teams now. The catch is that it downloads its installer bits at the end of the O365 offline installer. So if the device has no internet access, it fails to include Teams, neither classic or the new Teams.
So the moral of that story is to have internet access. All right, then.
It sounds like it. It seems like they still have their case still open. Looks like the only way to keep their MDT task sequence truly offline. Sorry, my headphones were just yelling at me. They must disable the new Teams deployment and package its offline installer to be used during MDT task sequence. Maybe make it required via Intune for their current users. So, Amir, appreciate the update. I know you've been fighting the good fight on this for the last few weeks. So, I don't think it's the solution that you were hoping for, but appreciate you letting us know.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Matt's asking, what am I going to do with my dev tenant? At the moment, I do not have a plan because mine was just renewed a couple of days ago.
For another month.
Yeah, exactly. So if that changes, I will share my plans here. But in the meantime, I'm hoping that it continues to be renewed.
Yeah, I was reading a post about Sune over in Denmark that got the bad news on his part, and he had to spend 60 hours of migrating all the content over to a new tenant, and he made it 2 days before this was removed. So hopefully you will have to avoid that part.
Oh, jeez. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Dan mentioned the initials in the back. Your initials in the background are reversed to AJ.
Well, yeah, Andrew and Johan, of course. Absolutely. Yeah. That and the believe sign. I'm a big Ted Lasso fan, so yeah. I got that for I think it was Christmas. Wife gave it to me. So
yeah, it's been up there for a while. It was a good addition. All right. Siva is asking, what is the recommended way to install M365 apps from Intune directly or as a Win32 app installed during Autopilot? Win32 app.
Yeah, I can tell you which one is more effective to download. It is not the MS365 app.
No.
It is not.
So we have Jan put together a blog post on this, and Matthias just put a blog post together on this. January? Was that in January? I think it was. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Yeah, there we go. If you would like to share my screen, Johan.
Yes, sir.
I've got. Thank you. I've got Matthias's blog post here on building these apps for Autopilot and for Intune, and this is going to be surrounding. I think some of this is based off of Jan's original blog post, and this is going to be based on building them as Win32 apps.
I mean, there are basically two sides to this. Either you call the setup installer itself that will go ahead and download the files, or you have everything baked into one file, or you use the MS365 app that is directly in the Intune portal. The downside of using the MS365 app is, again, it's not a single file coming down. It's a ton of files coming down. And from a peering efficiency level, that is simply not the best. Putting everything in a single package from a peering point of view always wins, because one file to download, that's it, done. It's hard to beat that.
Agreed.
All right, what else?
Marcelo is joining us over here on YouTube and asking if anyone is installing the ConfigMgr client on Intune enrolled devices. I don't want to lose ConfigMgr features. What's that like, that install?
I mean, that is a co-managed scenario. Or maybe he means they are Entra ID only, not hybrid.
Yeah, Entra ID / Intune enrolled devices. So if they are if they're starting out Intune managed and Entra ID joined only, and you want to install the ConfigMgr client from there, you have, or from Intune, you have two options. One is in, that is not where I want to go. I'm going to go to Windows Enrollment, and there it is. They just, still getting used to these UI changes, Johan.
You and me both. Cursed every day.
Yeah.
Eventually I'll get there.
Exactly. I think many of them are great UI changes, but change is hard sometimes. Anyways, under Windows Enrollment co-management settings, you can configure the co-management authority here in your tenant, and then assign this to essentially your Autopilot devices. So when you come through Autopilot, this will automatically install the ConfigMgr client, and with a number of setup properties for the ConfigMgr MSI. You can have this point directly to your cloud management gateway. That install happens and your devices become co-managed. The other way to do that is simply wrap up the CCM setup.exe executable for that installer as a Win32 app, and you can assign that out to your Intune enrolled devices, and they will install the client and again become co-managed. Anything you'd like to add on that, or are those?
No, sir.
All right.
No, sir.
Other than that, I would say that the experience is pretty good. What you will run into sometimes, so keep an eye out for this, is it may take a sync or two before the co-management workloads really settle where you expect. What I mean by that is you may have a workload that is set to ConfigMgr, but for a time it will still be, the device will still think it's managed by Intune, and then it can switch to ConfigMgr, it can switch back to Intune, and then finally land on ConfigMgr again. So you have a couple of cycles in some scenarios where that can happen, give you a little bit of an inconsistent experience, but it does, in my experience, eventually sort itself out.
I mean, I think it's worth mentioning that no matter if you have devices that are co-managed or whether you have devices that are just, enrolled into Intune, and whether they are hybrid or whether they are Entra ID only, they still must have that cloud identity. So they have, in the hybrid case, they must be up there. Otherwise, there is no co-management. Now, ConfigMgr can help you get stuff up there, but so can AD Connect. Or rather, AD Connect for the Entra Azure. AD Connect or the Cloud Sync for the legacy Active Directory objects, and then of course you can convince ConfigMgr to initiate that enrollment. But you can also have policies that does that if you have the right licenses to do automatic enrollment that way.
All right. Matt's asking, any idea about the new driver updates via Intune for Dell BIOS?
What I heard last time, it's currently broken. Someone messed up something. They were pushing out a fix for it. But otherwise, before they messed that part up, for some of the tenants, it's been working quite well. I think I have a few policies around still that I was playing around with. I can show. I have over to my Intune tenant here. Assuming I'll be able to find it now in this fancy interface, but driver updates. So here I have my various policies that I have configured, and if I go to my Dell one, for example, and go to the drivers that are available for this model, and sort them by name, you can see I do have some firmwares available that I can patch with. So now it's the only thing I need to go ahead and approve it, because I do not allow automatic approval in my tenant, and I'm not sure I ever will. There are some customers that learned the hard way that auto approval of drivers can be interesting. There was an incident last year where Realtek drivers were pushed out automatically. That didn't work with the hardware that was out there. So now you had a bunch of devices where you had no network. Kind of hard to fix that, at least from a centrally managed cloud solution.
I would say so.
So anyhow, except for an issue that you had the last few days here, this has been working okay. It's not perfect, but it's getting there. It's a solution to deal with it, and right now it's the only one that is agnostic across all hardware vendors, and that is built into the platform. And everything you see here, you can also automate through PowerShell. So I like that.
It's certainly a huge improvement over yes, I want drivers, or no, I don't want drivers.
Pretty much, yeah. Indeed.
So Amir's just got a couple of comments in here about their imaging process. He said, we used to download the latest and greatest of everything during the MDT imaging task sequence, including all of the needed PowerShell modules, NuGet, .NET, WinGet, and even most of the applications that have frequent updates like Chrome and Adobe Reader.
Yeah.
Imaging many machines per day turned out to make one of their CDNs mad at us and got our whole building's external IP address blocked and blacklisted twice.
Wow.
Since then, we've been on a never-ending path and mandate of keeping our MDT imaging workflow completely offline while still always installing the latest and greatest version of everything.
So, I have never heard about that, that you can blacklisted from deploying a lot of devices, but okay. Interesting. Is that your battery dying?
Yep. Trying to get the microphone away so we hopefully don't get any echo here.
All right.
Gary adding a comment here. If you still want better automation and control over drivers and firmware updates, you'll want to leverage vendor tools.
All right. Thank you for the info. And I mean, that there are pros and cons to that. Obviously, if you work with a specific vendor, they know their hardware well because they're the one that makes it. Where it becomes a challenge is if you have indeed those scenarios where you have to support multiple hardware vendors at the same time. Now if you have 4 vendors you work with, you have to learn 4 tools. So, I mean, sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes you have to pick up and use a vendor tool to get the job done, or to leverage features that only is available through that tool. For example, in this case, for automation purposes, we often need PowerShell modules. And Windows itself doesn't have any great PowerShell modules, or even Microsoft provide PowerShell modules to do like BIOS management and BIOS configurations and all that other automation that you might do. And you have to use the vendor PowerShell modules, whatever that's Dell, HP, and whatever. But those features are only available there. So it's never black and white, is it? It's always that gray. All right, I need to get the job done. What tools do I have to use to get the job done? I could add into who was it? Amir's comment there earlier on imaging. If it's Intune content, I have never ever heard about someone being blocked from downloading too much from it. But you can definitely implement local cache service. You can have a connected cache service sitting and caching all that content for you. It won't do the CDNs like Chrome and Adobe Reader and that stuff. But if those are packages in Intune and you get them that way, yeah, it will cache. And that will bump up your performance also a bit, because now it's not the client that is requesting the content directly. It is the connected cache on behalf of the client. So, yeah, some thoughts there.
Yeah, if you ever want to know about saving bandwidth on your clients, or at least managing it in a very smart way, Johan's your man. You've done a little bit of work there in that area.
A little bit, yeah. It's remarkable what you pick up when you have, even in your own lab, you have several hundred clients. They're all on the wrong side of a weak internet link.
Mm-hmm.
Every byte you can save, you save.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that you've been able to do on your internet link is just incredible, especially spinning up lab devices and things like that, and having them, I mean, to your point, at the end of the day, it's just connected cache and some DO working in the background, and it saves a lot.
Yeah, sounds simple, but it's, yeah, there's more to it than meets the eye, put it that way.
Definitely, there's some effort.
Yeah, it's not a checkbox, just peering, done. It's like, no.
No, definitely not.
All right, what else?
Dan was just following up on Amir's comments here as well, that they're always pulling from latest from the, they're always pulling the latest directly from the vendors, but they are thinking about an Azure file share to host everything, as they have some stuff that's internal that they update as well.
Yeah,
so
stumbled across one company. They were setting up squid proxies.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to deal with caching of that content that connected cache cannot cache.
Huh.
You know,
yeah,
I almost get like bad memories from Microsoft Proxy version 2 back in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there are technical solutions out there for sure.
Definitely. So Amir just said thank you for your comments on that, but it was GitHub's NuGet or WinGet CDN was what killed it for them. Pain to troubleshoot, identify, and unblock. Always is, especially when you've got either on your side, your organization side, or the CDN side, where you have one single bad IP. You end up getting those inconsistent experiences and things like that. I don't know if you've come across that before, Johan, but I've had the opposite of Amir's problem, where one single IP from Microsoft CDN ended up on a bad I've had it happen with Google CDN as well. One IP ends up on a bad list somewhere, and it just so happens that was the IP that was cached in the organization. And
All right.
Interesting to deal with that.
I bet. Yeah. All right. Anything else out there?
Make sure I got everything here earlier.
Got a comment, and apparently I'm sounding a bit lazy over here. Saw that one. And yes, I am. I'm proud of it too. The best automations experts are. The more you can automate, the better.
That's right.
So if that's being equal to being lazy, oh yes, I am guilty.
Yeah, I think we've got everything else at the moment. Fantastic conversation today, as always.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone. But I don't see any more comments or questions coming in. So, well, almost up on the hour. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Andrew, for sticking with me. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks. Have a great one, everybody.